The war had lasted for 5 long years. The skies above Earth and the stars beyond were filled with fire, metal, and silence after destruction. Billions of lives, both human and alien, had been lost. The war between the humans and the Cirellan Empire had reached a breaking point. Now, on a neutral space station floating near the border of both territories, peace talks were finally happening. Representatives from Earth sat across from the alien leaders. They were tall, elegant beings with silver skin, glowing eyes, and long robes. But one figure stood out among them, QueenTHE, ruler of the Cirellan people. She had a cold and proud face, her expression unreadable. She stood up slowly. The room went quiet. "Enough words," she said in perfect English. "This war has taken too much from all of us." Everyone listened closely. Earth's ambassador looked hopeful. Maybe she was finally agreeing to peace. Then she turned her sharp gaze to a human standing at the side, a soldier in dark uniform, silent until now. His name was Callan. He wasn't a general. He wasn't a leader. He had only come to help with security. But Thalaria pointed directly at him. "I will agree to peace on one condition," she said. "He must marry me." The room froze. Even Callan stared in shock. "What?" "If this human agrees to a royal bond with me," she continued, her voice firm, "the war will end. If he refuses, then we continue. We fight until one side is destroyed." A wave of confusion and panic moved through the room. Earth's ambassador stood. "Your Majesty, surely this is a joke. A marriage proposal? That is not how peace is made." Thalaria didn't blink. "This is the Cirellan way. In ancient times, 2 warring sides would offer a soul bond, a sacred promise. If a queen bonded with a warrior of the enemy, it was a sign of complete trust and unity. But why him? Someone asked. Callan looked just as confused. He was an ordinary soldier. Brave, yes, but not special. He had fought on the front lines, protected civilians, followed orders. He never expected to be noticed, especially not by an alien queen. Thalaria gave a soft answer. "Because I saw him spare my people when he didn't have to. I watched him protect a Cirellan child from falling debris during a battle on Nyrex 4. He could have left. He didn't." Callan remembered that moment. A small girl crying under a collapsing wall. He carried her to safety without thinking. It was just what a good soldier would do. The ambassador turned to Callan. "You don't have to agree. This is madness. We can negotiate another way." But Callan could feel every eye in the room on him. Human generals, alien advisors, the queen herself. She didn't look like someone making a game. Her face was calm, but her eyes were tired. She had seen too much war. Later, in a private room, Callan was given a choice. "Say yes," a human official whispered. "It might end the war without another drop of blood." "Say no," said another, "and keep your freedom. We'll find another way." But it wasn't that simple. Callan wasn't sure what to feel. He wasn't a diplomat. He wasn't trained for this. And yet, part of him was curious. Why would an alien queen choose someone like him? He sat alone for hours, thinking. At last, Queen Thalaria requested to speak with him in person. He agreed. Inside her royal chamber aboard the Cirellan ship, the two sat in silence for a moment. "You're serious about this?" Callan said finally. She nodded. "Yes, I have no desire to keep fighting. I want peace, but only if it's real. A paper agreement can be broken, a bond cannot. But a marriage? Between 2 enemies? We are not enemies," she said quietly. "We are just tired of pain." Callan looked at her. She wasn't what he expected. Not cruel, not cold, just strong, and very alone. He didn't say yes? Not yet. But he didn't walk away either. And that was the beginning. The next morning, Callan was escorted to the Cirellan flagship. The halls were quiet and wide, glowing softly under silver light. Alien guards in white armor walked beside him, silent and alert. Though no one said a word, Callan could feel their eyes watching him closely. He was still unsure what to think. Back on the human side, command was divided. Some believed this marriage treaty was a trap. Others saw it as a golden chance to stop a terrible war. Callan was stuck in the middle. He didn't ask for this, he was just a soldier. But now, everyone expected him to make a decision that could change the future of both species. When the doors to the Queen's private chamber opened, he stepped in slowly. Queen Thalaria stood near a window, looking out at the stars. Her long robe moved like smoke as she turned to face him. Her expression was calm, but there was something heavy in her eyes. "I thought you would run," she said quietly. "I almost did," Callan admitted. "But I'm not the type to run from a problem." A small smile touched her lips. "That's why I chose you." Callan took a breath. "I need to know something. Why me? I'm not a hero, I'm not a leader, I'm not even special." "You are human," Thalaria said, stepping closer. "But you showed more heart than many of your leaders. You saved one of our children. Not because it was useful. Not because someone ordered you, you simply did it. That is rare in war." He remembered the moment clearly. The battle was messy. Fire and debris everywhere. The little girl had been trapped behind a pile of broken stone. His team was already retreating, but something told him to stop and help. It hadn't felt like a choice. It felt natural. "Didn't expect anyone to notice," he said. "I did," Thalaria replied. "And I never forgot." She walked to a nearby table and pressed a button. A tray slid out with food, alien fruits, small bread-like pieces, and 2 drinks. She motioned for him to sit. He hesitated, then sat down across from her. "This bonding thing," he said. "You're serious? You'd really tie yourself to a human just to stop the war?" "Not just any human," she replied. "And not only for peace." Callan looked at her surprised. "Then why?" Thalaria didn't speak right away. She picked up a strange round fruit and set it down again. "My advisors wanted me to wait. To pick a noble, someone trained in politics. But I knew it wouldn't work. Not truly. We would sign papers, make speeches, and the hate would continue in secret. I needed someone who had no reason to lie, someone honest. And you think I'm that person? I know you are." The room grew quiet. Callan leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. "I don't know your customs. I don't know your people. I don't even know if we can make something like this work." Thalaria gave a gentle nod. "That is why we will begin the compatibility trials." "The what?" "It is a series of peaceful activities, shared meals, communication tests, emotional bonds, no ceremony, no force. If by the end we are not compatible, I will not press you." Callan raised an eyebrow. "So this is like alien dating?" Thalaria smiled again. "Something like that." He chuckled a little, the tension in his chest easing. "Okay, I'll try. But if I feel this is wrong, you may leave," she finished for him. "Your choice will be honored." Callan nodded slowly. "Then let's begin." That night, as he returned to his guest room, Callan looked out the window into the stars. He didn't know what would happen next, but for the first time in years, he felt that maybe, just maybe, this war had a chance to end without another shot fired. And it all started with the strangest proposal a soldier could ever receive. The next few days moved slowly for Callan. Each morning he woke up on the Sorellan flagship far from his world, surrounded by a species he had fought just months ago. Though no one treated him badly, he could feel the tension in every hallway, in every passing glance. He was the outsider, the human soldier, the one chosen by their queen. The compatibility trials began with shared meals. Thalaria invited him to dine in her private garden, a room filled with strange glowing plants, warm air, and quiet music that sounded like soft wind. The food was alien but fresh. She explained each dish, sometimes even laughing when he made a face at the sharp tastes. "I see humans don't enjoy spice," she teased once. "Not whatever that was," Callan replied, wiping his tongue. "It tastes like fire and sadness." She laughed softly, and for a moment she wasn't a queen. just a woman trying to connect. The second trial involved communication. They spent hours in a chamber that helped translate deep emotions. A Cirellan crystal was placed between them. It reacted to honesty. If either one lied, the crystal dimmed. If both were truthful, it stayed bright. Callan spoke of his time in war, his first battle, the friends he lost, the fear he still carried. Thalaria spoke of her crown, the pressure to lead, and the loneliness of command. The crystal glowed bright the whole time. One evening they sat side by side looking out into space. Stars shimmered beyond the glass. Callan broke the silence. "I never imagined peace could come like this." "Neither did I," she said softly. "But sometimes the old ways offer a better path." He looked at her carefully. "Do you really want peace? Or do you just want control?" She didn't look offended. "That's fair. Many think I want to rule your people. But if I wanted that, I would have sent armies. I want something stronger than control. I want a future without endless graves." Her answer felt honest. Callan nodded slowly. But not everyone agreed with this strange peace. Back on Earth, military leaders argued. Some feared the Queen was planning to use the marriage to take power. Others thought Callan was being tricked. News reports leaked the story. On Cirella, old warlords whispered their anger too. Not all Cirellans accepted the idea of bonding with a human. Still, the trials continued. In one test, Callan and Thalaria worked together to guide a young Cirellan child through a simulation. The child, shy and quiet, smiled at Callan when he gently helped her with a puzzle. Thalaria watched, something warm flickering in her eyes. "You would make a kind father," she said later. Callan froze. "Whoa. Let's survive this first." She gave a soft chuckle. "Of course." As the days passed, Callan's heart began to shift. He no longer saw her as just a queen or an alien. He saw someone who had carried the weight of war on her shoulders and still chose peace. Someone who listened, someone who trusted. But then came a message, a secret warning from a friend back on Earth. "Callan, be careful. Some in our government want to cancel the talks. They don't trust her. You might be removed from the mission soon." He stared at the screen, mind racing. If he left now, all of it would end. Every step forward, every moment shared, the bond, unfinished, would break. That night, during their final trial, silent reflection under the stars, Thalaria turned to him. "You heard something?" she said. "Your eyes are troubled." Callan didn't hide it. "They're thinking about pulling me out. They don't trust this, don't trust you." She looked away. "I expected this. Trust is hard after war." He faced her. "What do we do?" She met his eyes, calm but firm. "We finish this trial. Then we let the people see what choice we make." Callan nodded. It was the only way. In his heart, he knew he was standing at the edge of something greater than himself. Callan woke up to the sound of alarms. Red lights flashed through the hallway outside his room. He jumped to his feet, quickly pulling on his uniform. A Cirellan guard rushed to his door and shouted, "Stay inside, human!" But Callan stepped out. "What's happening?" he asked, his voice sharp. The guard hesitated. "There's been an explosion near the Queen's chamber." His heart sank. "Is she safe?" "We don't know yet." Callan didn't wait for permission. He ran down the hall, past rushing soldiers and broken glass. He turned corners, moved through smoke, and ignored shouts telling him to stop. His mind was focused on one thing, finding her. When he reached the Queen's wing, he found the door, blasted open. Inside, several guards were down, injured but alive. He stepped carefully over debris and called out, "Thalaria!" A faint voice came from the far corner. "Callan." She was trapped under part of a collapsed ceiling. Her robe was torn, and blood ran down her forehead. But she was alive. He ran to her side, pushed the heavy beam away, and helped her sit. "Up, you shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I don't care," he said, holding her steady. "I'm not leaving you." A medic arrived moments later and helped them both out. As they were taken to a secure room, whispers spread among the guards. Someone from inside had tried to kill the queen. A hidden enemy. Callan sat beside her as her wounds were cleaned. She winced but didn't cry out. She was strong, even in pain. "Do you know who did this?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Some of my own people. Warlords who don't want peace. They believe bonding with a human will weaken the empire. But it's your decision, yes. But fear speaks louder than reason in times of change." Callan looked at her closely. "They tried to kill you, and they don't care if I die too." Thalaria met his eyes. "That's why your choice matters even more now." Later, that night in the medical room, Callan sat alone thinking. His body was tired, but his mind wouldn't rest. He had nearly lost her today. And for what? Because she wanted peace? He thought about her laughter during the meals, the way she watched, the stars, the calm in her voice when she spoke of her people's pain. He remembered the day he first saw her, not on a battlefield, but on a screen during a ceasefire broadcast. He had thought she looked cold and distant then. But now, she felt real, and now he felt responsible. The next day, the human ambassador arrived. His face was tight with worry. "Callan, this is getting dangerous. We can pull you out now. Say the word." But Callan shook his head. "If I leave now, the enemies win. They'll say the bond was never real." The ambassador sighed. "This isn't your fight anymore." Callan stood up. "That's where you're wrong. If a bond can stop a war, then it's the most important fight I've ever been part of." He went to Thalaria's side once more. Her injuries were healing, but her spirit remained strong. "You should rest," he said softly. She smiled faintly. "I will once we finish what we started." He sat beside her and reached for her hand. It was the first time he had done that without fear. "You said we'd let the people see our choice," he said. "Then let's make it clear." She squeezed his hand gently. "Are you ready?" "I am." That moment, quiet and simple, carried more power than any speech. A soldier and a queen, once enemies, now sitting side by side. Not just to end a war, but to start something new. Outside, both sides prepared for change. Inside, two hearts beat with the same hope. The announcement was set for the next day. The Cirellan flagship would open a live broadcast to both Earth and the Cirellan Empire. Billions of people would be watching, soldiers, leaders, families, and enemies. Everyone wanted to know one thing: would the human soldier accept the Queen's bond, or would the war return? Callan stood in front of a mirror dressed in formal Cirellan robes. The fabric was light and smooth, with silver threads that shimmered faintly under the lights. He didn't feel like a warrior anymore. He felt like someone about to cross a line no one had crossed before. Behind him, the door opened. Thalaria entered wearing her royal robe, her injuries now healed. A golden crown sat gently across her forehead, and her eyes, though calm, held tension. "They're ready," she said. Callan turned. "So am I." The two walked together through the grand hallway. Cirellan guards lined the walls. Human diplomats and officers stood in silence. Even the old warlords, those who had once tried to stop this, were now forced to watch. As the doors opened to the main hall, the lights brightened. Cameras floated in the air, capturing every step. At the center stood the ancient Stone of Unity, and the artifact used for bonding ceremonies centuries ago. No one had touched it in over 300 years. Thalaria stepped forward. She placed her hand on the stone and looked at Callan. "Speak when you are ready," she said. Callan looked out into the cameras, knowing his family back on Earth was watching, knowing that soldiers from both sides, tired and broken, were hoping for something better. He took a deep breath. "I'm not a leader," he said. "I'm not a prince. I'm just a soldier who's seen too much pain, too much loss. I didn't ask for this, but I was given a choice. A choice between fear and hope." He turned to face Thalaria. "You could have picked anyone. But you picked me because I made a simple choice in war. To help, not to hurt. You saw that and you believed peace was possible. So now I make my choice." He reached out and placed his hand on the stone beside hers. "I choose peace. I choose you." The hall filled with silence. Then the stone began to glow gently, not from machines but from the energy between them. The light was soft, warm, and steady. It meant the bond had begun. The bond was not marriage in the human sense. It was deeper, a union of two minds, two leaders from different worlds. From this moment, Callan and Thalaria were tied by a sacred link, meant to guide both sides to peace. Cheers erupted from the Cirellan side. Even some human diplomats clapped, though others remained stiff, but no one could deny what they saw. Callan and Thalaria stood hand in hand, not just as symbols, but as two souls who had chosen to walk together. After the ceremony, Thalaria took Callan to a quiet garden. The stars above shimmered like before, but now they felt different. "You didn't have to say yes," she said quietly. "I know," he replied, "but it felt right." She looked at him carefully. "This will not be easy. Many will doubt us. Many will test us. I've faced war," Callan said. "I can face questions too." She smiled, a real smile, not one for cameras or crowds. "Then let this be the first day of something better." They sat down together, shoulder to shoulder, as the stars continued to shine above them. Back on Earth in Cirella, soldiers watched the replay of the event. Some cried, some cheered, some simply sat in silence, unsure of how to feel. But none could deny one truth. The war didn't end with weapons. It ended with a choice. The day of the bond ritual arrived. The great hall of the Cirellan flagship was decorated with flowers from distant planets. The air was filled with a soft hum, the sound of ancient songs played by alien instruments. Representatives from both Earth and Cirella filled the room, their eyes fixed on the center where Callan and Queen Thalaria stood. The bond ritual was more than a ceremony. It was a promise to all who watched that peace was possible. Callan wore a special robe woven with the colors of both worlds, deep blue for Earth, shimmering silver for Cirella. Thalaria's gown was elegant and flowing, decorated with symbols of unity. A golden circlet rested gently on her forehead. The Cirellan priest, an old being with wise eyes, stepped forward and began the ceremony. He spoke in a calm voice, telling stories of ancient times when two leaders would unite to end wars and bring hope to their people. Callan listened carefully. He had never seen anything like this before. The ceremony felt powerful, more than words could explain. At one point, the priest presented two small crystals, one for each of them. When they held the crystals, a warm light spread from their hands to their hearts. The crystals symbolized their bond, a link of trust and respect. As the ritual continued, Callan felt a strange calm inside him. It was as if the space between him and Thalaria grew smaller. He noticed how her eyes softened when she looked at him, and how his own heart beat steady. Suddenly the ceremony was interrupted. A loud crash came from the hallway. Several Cirellan guards rushed in, weapons raised. They moved quickly, surrounding a group of angry figures, warlords who had refused to accept the peace. Their leader, a tall alien with scars on his face, shouted, "This union is a lie. We will never bow to humans." The crowd gasped. Thalaria stood firm. "Peace is stronger than fear," she said loudly. Callan stepped forward, standing beside her. "If you want war, come to me. But know this, I will protect this peace with my life." The warlords hesitated. The strength in Callan's voice, the Queen's calm confidence, and the presence of so many witnesses made them pause. Slowly the guards took the warlords away. The hall grew quiet again. The ceremony continued, but everyone knew that this moment was more than tradition. It was a test of courage and trust. When the ritual ended, Callan and Thalaria placed their crystals together. The light between them brightened for a moment, then faded gently. The crowd erupted in applause. Many stood and cheered. Later, as they left the hall, Callan turned to Thalaria. "That was intense," he said with a small smile. She laughed softly. "It was a battle of words and will, not weapons," Callan nodded. "And we won." She looked at him with a warmth he had not seen before. "This bond is more than a ceremony. It is a promise to build something new." Callan took her hand. "Then let's keep that promise." Over the next days, they spent more time together, not as soldier and queen, but as partners. They visited war-torn planets, met with leaders, and helped heal old wounds. Each day brought challenges but also hope. Callan thought about how much he had changed. From a simple soldier, he was now a symbol of peace between two great worlds. The weight was heavy, but he carried it with pride. Thalaria, too, had changed. The fierce queen had softened, opening her heart to someone who had once been her enemy. One evening, as they watched the stars, she whispered, "You didn't just stop a war, Callan. You gave us a reason to hope." He smiled. "I didn't do it alone. We did it together." And in that moment, two souls from different worlds stood united, ready to face the future, no longer as enemies, but as partners in peace. Months had passed since the bond ritual. The war was over. The battlefields lay silent, and the stars no longer burned with fire and destruction. Callan, once a soldier who fought on the front lines, had become a symbol, a bridge between two worlds that had once been enemies. Yet not everyone was happy. Many humans called him a traitor. They said he had given too much to an alien queen. Some Cirellans whispered behind their backs, doubting the peace would last. But Callan did not listen. He had made a choice for a better future. One day, Callan and Thalaria visited a city that had been destroyed during the war. They walked through the ruins side by side. Children from both worlds played together in the streets, their laughter ringing out like music. Thalaria smiled softly. "Look at them. This is why we fought so hard." Callan nodded. "I never thought I'd see this." She reached out and took his hand. "You gave us hope, Callan. You showed us that peace can be more than words." He squeezed her hand gently. "I only did what felt right." The two stood quietly, watching the sun set over the city's broken walls. Back on the flagship, life was different now. Callan was no longer just a soldier. He was an ambassador, a partner to the Queen, and a leader in his own right. His days were filled with meetings, discussions, and visits to places still healing from war. Thalaria worked tirelessly to rebuild her empire, balancing old traditions with new ideas. The bond between them gave her strength, and in turn she gave Callan a sense of purpose he had never known. One evening, as they prepared to attend a peace conference, Thalaria looked at Callan with quiet determination. "Our work is far from over," she said. "There are still those who want to see us fail." Callan smiled. "Then we'll show them that together we are stronger." They entered the conference hall, greeted by leaders from across the galaxy. Their presence was a reminder that peace was possible, even between the most unlikely of allies. As the conference began, Callan thought back to the day the Queen first asked him to marry her. How strange it seemed then, how impossible. But now, standing beside her, he understood. Peace was not easy. It required courage, trust, and sometimes sacrifice. And sometimes, it required a human soldier to say yes when the galaxy expected him to say no. Later that night, as the stars shone brightly outside their window, Thalaria leaned her head on Callan's shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" he asked. "For choosing me. For choosing peace. For being the human face of hope." Callan smiled and kissed her forehead gently. "Together," he said. "Always together." And in the quiet of the night, two hearts from different worlds beat as one, proof that even in the darkest times light could shine through.